Hey, welcome back, 2-Minute Tuesday. So I was having a chat with Brian Scholes. Now, if you don't know who Brian Scholes is, I kind of guess you've been living under a rock or you're very new to carp fishing. So bear with me. Let me just give a quick resume of who Brian is. Brian has been a Nutrabaits user from the very beginning of Nutrabaits, which isn't exactly yesterday. Brian is one of the most successful, forward-thinking anglers you'll ever meet. And to top it all, he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet as well. And Brian is a real thinker, and he is an all-round angler. He doesn't just target carp, he targets many other species, and he's super proficient at catching them. But it's the way his brain works. He's a real thinker, and he doesn't just do things for the sake of doing them. It's always with a lot of kind of thought behind it. So anyway, I got into talking to Brian only recently, and we were talking about products that work in colder temperatures and the solubility of them, and how sometimes we don't think about how soluble the products that we use are. Now, we do a myriad of glugs, dips, liquid foods, sprays, but a lot of anglers kind of don't really know how and when to use them. So I think this may be a bit of an eye-opener video. And even if you've been around the block a few times, this, I think, is still going to be quite interesting. So as I say, I have to give credit fully to Brian on this, because it's he who gave me the thought process to kind of go and have a look at this. So we have liquid foods in our range. We have the bait soak sprays, we have the complexes that are like a soak, and we have then our all-round liquid boosters, which are glugs, and then we have oils. So we're going to go through each one of these and explain very quickly what they all do. So the liquid foods were designed primarily to go into the bait at mixing time. It would be going in for a couple of reasons. One, it would increase the nutritional value of the bait. Number two, it would increase the taste profile of that bait. And three, it would leak off at a much slower rate lots of these goodies, amino acids and flavor, tastes, all these things that carp recognize via their chemoreception. So that's the liquid foods. Even though these were designed for including inside the bait, a lot of guys still use these as glugs and dips for outside of the bait, and it works really, really well. Liquid boosters were designed to be PVA friendly, designed to have lots of natural sugars in them, aminos, flavors, taste profiles that got carp stimulated. It's a dense, heavy product that is used as a boilie glug or a particle glug, or you can add it to carpet feeds or ground baits or anything like that. How it works is that when carp do home in on the zone to feed, as they start to feed, the particles in this are released, and it stimulates them to feed harder and more aggressively and bring more carp to the table. So that's the liquid boosters. Now, we also have oils. Oils are very much underused these days. Back in the 90s, everyone was using salmon oil, nod oil, and all of those things to glug their baits in. Oil, by its very nature, doesn't like water. It wants to hit the surface and disappear. It doesn't want to be part of water at all. So that can work in our favor, but the oils have been really out of favor for a long time. But hemp oil still will always find its way into my carpet feed. It will still find its way as a glug all over my boilies, because I do think it's going to help, especially if you've got deeper water. It's going to help pull up the flavors up into that water column as it tries to head to the surface and help spread the love. So that's food oils. Can be also added inside the bait to improve the nutritional quality of the bait, so remember that as well. So now we're on to probably the two most notable ones for a quick bite. You're going to be looking at the bait soak sprays. Very, very water soluble product, and it's going to be one of those things that you spray on quickly to nick a bite, especially you're on hungry waters where carp are homing in and looking for food. Bait soak spray is one of those products that's really going to help you. Bait soak complex, one of the most underrated, underused and undervalued products by people who don't know about it. The guys that do know its value. This is an incredible product. It's a liquid. The liquid only comes halfway up in the canister, and people, when they open it, think they've been duped, but it's not. It's done for that reason. The right amount of millage is in the product. The reason why it's only half full, it's because you're meant to put your boilies in and then shake it around, and every so often turn it upside down, backwards and forward, and get that soak moving through the boilies. One thing it will do, when you cut open a boilie that's been soaked for a number of months, you can see the different cores of soakage where it's gone through into the bait. This is super attractive, cannot be overdone, and the carp adore it. It's one of the most water-soluble products on the market, and it is an absolute winner. So what I wanted to do was to prove to you in cold water conditions, because we're fishing at this time of year, we want to amplify our hook baits, but which one do we use? Do we use liquid foods? Do we use a bait soak complex? Do we just go in with a bait spray? Or do we use an actual liquid booster? So I've set up a little bit of a test here to test each one of these products and how they react in water, so that you can kind of make up your own mind which one you should be using in winter. So in winter, the water temperature is anywhere between 3 and 5 degrees. So I've gone for 4 degrees water temperature just for this experiment. So as you can see, I've just added a liquid food. Now the liquid food itself, it is dense, it's heavy, and it's actually not having really much of a reaction with the water. It doesn't really want to be that soluble this time of year. So for me, that's a real big no-no as a glug. So the liquid booster being a very dense liquid, and designed for actually glugging baits in and letting it adhere and stick to them, you can see it's literally just hit the bottom and it wants to stay there. Liquid sprays, they're going to be super effective in cold water. Nutramino, Multimino, part of the liquid food range, but very different from, say, the trigger ice or the trigger liquid food. The trigger ice and the trigger liquid food, very dense, very gloopy product that's designed for being in the bait. These can be added inside the bait or outside of the bait, and they are water soluble. Now, Multimino is a little bit denser and will not be as water soluble in cold temperatures. Nutramino, on the other hand, it does seem to want to be a lot more water soluble. So the Multimino does want to cling nearer to the bottom, but there is still sort of a good 2-inch, 3-inch lift off the bottom where it wants to move around, and with currents and stuff like that and undertow, you will get the Multimino moving and dispersing into the water column. Nutramino is a different beast altogether. It is much more water soluble. It really wants to come up into those water layers, and if there's again any undertow, any movement of the water, that's going to be shifting around. And as I said, it's super water soluble, so it will dissipate into that water column and send out its food signals. Really, really cool product. Bait soak complex. Now watch this. It is without a doubt the most attractive water soluble product on the market. I don't care what anybody says. This stuff absolutely wants to be free. It takes all its food signal and it just pushes it absolutely into every part of the water column it can. If you have a bait that's been soaked in the bait soak complex, it is going to immediately pump out attraction all the way up through the water columns, and it will draw fish down quicker than anything else. It has that trigger that will get them to feed, and it's a stimulant that will get them feeding aggressively. It's an amazing product. So oil, as I said, doesn't want to be part of the gang. It's just going to hit the surface. So for me, having done the tank tests, in cold water conditions, bait soak complex is the #1 product to go to. I will use it in a combination with Nutramino, and obviously if I want to boost the flavour levels, I'll hit my bait soak spray. I will use my bait soak complex as my main glug for my boilies. I'll have them boosting inside the pot for periods of time. I would recommend that you have bait soaking in this for at least a year. I know guys are fishing with these boosted hook baits 4 years in the pots, and it catches more fish because it's that way. All our products, such as our glugs, dips, sprays, bait soak complex, or indeed our liquid foods, are designed to do specific jobs and do them exceptionally well. It is imperative to know how each product works so that you can get the very best out of them. Indeed, mixing products can give you a huge edge as they work on different levels within the water column. You can also play around with the products so that they work instantly or over an extended period, or both. Liquid boosters, for instance, have an amazing ability to hold carp in an area, so even in very cold conditions, adding a small amount to the bait in a combination with the other products will mean that there will be a strong food signal over a much longer period. The winner. Now, if you also want to be a winner, if you like this video, share it to your own Facebook page and tag a friend, you will be in with a chance of getting a small little parcel through the door with some bait soak complex for you to try out yourself. So get tagging, get liking, and share it to your own Facebook page. This is Gerry, done.